This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Stop. 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 Had enough? Kick out mucus and quiet the cough with Mucinex 12-Hour DM for long-lasting cough and chest congestion relief. Buy Mucinex 12-Hour DM at your local retailer. Use as directed.
Perfect. Yeah. So I'm Dr. Liu, and I'm really happy to be giving this first session for the UT Terry Scholars. And I want to thank Jillian as well as the conference organizers for giving me the chance to really share my experiences, share my knowledge, and really give back. So I pride myself in contributing to the future generations and offering as much advice and wisdom as I can. I'm really, as you can tell, the world is changing a lot. I'm here to share my expertise from both the traditional world, going through medical school, orthopedic surgery, and now being an entrepreneur. You guys have the world ahead of you, and I wish I was in your shoes, because the number of opportunities, your ability to create your own future is really unlimited. So you have more opportunities now than when I was in your shoes. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the top skills to develop while you guys are in undergraduate school. And these are skills that will help you regardless of whatever field, whatever endeavor you choose. One thing I tell clients is to focus on what career direction you want to, but also develop these skills so that when you have things such as COVID or technological disruption or things like you lose your job and things like that, you're still able to bounce back very quickly. So I want to poll real quick is in the audience, looks like there's around 20 people or so. How many are just juniors? How many are juniors? And so a few hands. Okay. All right. And then how many are sophomores? Okay. And then how many are freshmen? So the majority, a lot of freshmen. And then any seniors? Anybody to be a senior this year? Okay. So a couple. Okay. Perfect. For the freshmen, this is going to be really awesome because right now you're like 17 or so. And if you take these advice and kind of the wisdom and guidance that you can set yourself up for tremendous success. So I've also given Andrea my email. So after this, please be sure to email me your questions. I'm happy to answer them. And I've actually coached a lot of Terry Scholars one-on-one, especially those going into the fields of medicine, because you need a mentor to help guide you because there's so many different options. I'm going to break down my journey and some of the highlights, some of the pivots, chronicle my journey, as well as some of the learnings, and talk about how to position yourself for success. I was 96 Terry Scholar. I went to A&M. Looking back, I could have gone to A&M or UT, but A&M was more of the better fit for my personality. And then, like I said, undergraduate, you're going to get evaluated by two things. Your first is your GPA. That's the number one thing you really have to focus on is your GPA. Get it as high as possible, regardless of whatever field. A high GPA will open so many doors, while a low GPA is going to shut a lot of doors. So make sure, because you are Terry Scholars, you guys are all high achievers. So make sure that you focus on your grades first. So this advice is for a lot of the pre-meds or law school or graduate school. Your standardized test scores are extremely important. That's how you get into the best schools, the admissions. That's how they weed people out, is based on your GPA and your standardized tests. For the audience, how many are considering traditional careers such as law, medicine, PhD, accounting, these types of things? Okay. I would say looks like around 40 to 50%. And I would just say for the other, how many are considering things such as creatives like entrepreneur, business, finance, these other fields? Okay. And when I was in your shoes, it was around 80 to 90% what the hands would raise for the traditional sectors, such as especially a lot of pre-meds, pre-law, graduate school, those sort of things. And as I've seen it over the last 20 or so years, it's really been dwindling because now there's so many different types of careers and there's different career options and people are changing careers and doing different things. Don't be alarmed if you're not interested in medicine or law or anything. It's just the traditional kind of right now, what you're seeing is a dichotomy between traditional ways where we went to school, we developed a skill, we went into these professions and then we stayed there forever. That sort of paradigm is changing. So now a lot of people are doing their own things. A lot of them are becoming investors and entrepreneurs and a lot of starting companies as well. So these types of skills will be valuable for both. So don't feel bad about that. But as an undergrad, starting out, your grades are number one. That'll almost, I don't want to say never, but it's timeless, especially in a traditional academic setting. So from there, and I went to A&M, chemistry major. And like I said, I was pre-med because back then that was the thing to do. And went to Baylor for medical school and I was a MD PhD. Got into the MD PhD program and I did my PhD years at Rice University, which was one of the best experiences ever because it showed me what an entrepreneurial mindset is. And a lot of the kids were starting companies. A lot of you guys can start your social media companies and you guys are in positions to do that because you have a lot of time. If you have the wherewithal and you have the time and you have the inclination, I encourage a lot of you to start small businesses and just play around and tinker as long as your grades are good. And I majored in bioengineering. And after that, I went the traditional route. I went into orthopedic surgery. And like I said, concurrently, a lot of things were changing in the world. I was going through the traditional route, but I experienced, I don't think you guys were born yet, but we experienced 9/11. We experienced Enron WorldCom scandals, went through the 2008 financial crisis, and we also saw the advent of the internet. So we had social media, we had search, we had smartphones, and all of these enabled us to build companies on top of the internet. So this new type of paradigm allowed a lot of people to upend the traditional route. So they didn't have to become doctors, they didn't have to become lawyers to generate significant good income. So this was all happening while I was in training. And so I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to make an impact. I've always wanted to make a difference. After I got my stable footing by saving, by investing, learning about finances, starting companies. And once I was able to get my financial freedom, I was able to financially retire from medicine and start my company, which is a media and consulting company. So I help doctors, I help lawyers, I help dentists achieve financial literacy, understand what finances are, how to save, how to invest. And I speak around the world, speak to you guys, write articles. I've written 4 books. And right now it's all about giving back. These are some of the things that I encountered on my journey. One thing you'll realize is that your career for you guys is not going to be basically a straight linear path. When we were growing up, we always got taught that just had to climb the ladder and work 40 or 50 years, but that's not going to be the case anymore. A lot of you guys are going to, create your own jobs. You're going to create your own companies. Some of you are going to go to jobs, stay for a year, change to another job, stay for a year, and then eventually you're going to find your footing. So that's the way the world is working for you guys. But don't be alarmed because that's actually a good thing because now you have a lot more opportunities and you have a lot more options to create what you want. The thing I want to focus on is once you get your grades, once you decide your career path, you really, during these times, develop these 6 skills that I described to you. And these are not skills that you can learn in a class. You have to actually go out and develop these skills. And these skills are crucial to success, both personally, financially, in your relationships, in your families, and your careers. The first is this idea of the skill of networking. It's really important starting out to develop a solid, strong network. So a good mentor of mine said that your net worth is your net work. So if you look around the 5 people around you, you average their income, that's going to be how your net worth. It's usually pretty solid. So make sure you choose who you associate with very carefully. Being in the Terry's Foundation and the scholars, that puts you in a select group of individuals. So really keep that in mind as you develop this. Always be of value, be of service. And regardless if you're introverted or extroverted, you can still develop solid networks. And not only will your net worth be who you associate with, but also leads to a lot of opportunities. It could be a lot of collaborations. It can lead to a lot of support structures. So it's really important that you develop a strong, solid network. And how do you go about developing this? One is through your clubs, could be in your dormitories, your classes, people that you resonate with, people that want to go places, achieve things, contribute, do more in the world. So that's how you select your network. And your network is not going to be static. It's going to be changing. So just realize that. The other thing is that with the internet, with social media now, you can network without having to divide your attention all over the place. So you want to be in-person networking through your classes, giving presentations, speeches, but also you develop your social network. So that's could be through, with you guys, could be Instagram. LinkedIn is really important. Develop a LinkedIn profile. That's going to be extremely helpful to you when you're applying for jobs, when you're looking for collaborations and that sort of thing. With LinkedIn, you can write articles, you can put up your presentations, you can put up videos, a lot of different things. So LinkedIn is really important that I would recommend all of you guys start. It doesn't have to be perfect, but over time, if you're starting early, it'll be very, very valuable. So LinkedIn is the number one professional source for networking. So it's not Instagram, it's not Snapchat, it's not TikTok. All of these are great social media platforms, but really LinkedIn is really awesome. Twitter is also good as well because it's for news and information and up-to-date information. Facebook is more for my generation, Facebook Reels, all of these. So think about that. The other thing is, so once you develop this idea of social media, so not only to develop your network, but you can also brand yourself. You want to, for example, if you're interested in starting a company or if you're interested in going and getting into medical school or law school, you can start to brand yourself as someone as such so that when these employers go to your profile, they can see that you've accomplished a lot of different things that fit your career goals and aspirations. So it's really important to develop a brand, an online brand and presence through these social networks, not just for friends and family, but use it for professional purposes. From there, you can learn how to market. So you can market through writing articles, posting, a lot of different things that you can do. And again, do this with the mind that you're trying to increase your social network. So that's really important. So the other thing is, if you guys have an opportunity, it's really important to develop leadership skills and abilities. So that's usually can be through your student organizations. It can be giving speeches, getting up and organizing groups, collaborating, hosting events such as this. For example, Andrea or Jillian, all these things, you can start to develop leadership skills, because leadership skills, that's a soft skill and it's extremely difficult to cultivate. If you have strong leadership and you have strong managerial skills, that makes you increasingly valuable to companies. So in this day and age when companies let go of people, they look at which ones that are expendable. So if you have strong leadership, you have strong networking, you have strong managerial capabilities, if you work in a company, that's going to increase your value. So really start to develop and hone these types of skills. And so that's these soft skills that I want to describe. The next area is, for example, right now, you guys have some of the most, you guys are living in some of the most incredible times I've ever seen. There's so much opportunity in front of you. A lot of my colleagues and my friends, their kids ask me, should I go to college or should I not? They're interested in starting companies. I really advise you to go to college, because that's a really solid time for you to develop these skills that I've talked about, but realize that when I was starting out, you have skills, basically had the traditional pathways. And now you have, with technology, now the future is going to be in artificial intelligence. It's going to be in blockchain. It's going to be in the metaverse. It's going to be in virtual reality. All of these things are tremendously going to change and shape the way we interact, which we learn, we socialize, how we work. So think about, if you guys, how these new technologies and how these new trends fit in with old existing paradigms. Because if you can do that, then you're actually increasing your ability to demonstrate more value to the world. That's my synopsis in a nutshell. And I'm happy to open it up and answer questions. And with those questions, it'll come new ideas that I can help share and spread my knowledge with.
Anyone have a question to ask Dr. Lee? I'll pass the mic to Barbara.
You know when you reach that age where everyone and their mother won't shut up about their credit scores, yet it seems like no one really understands what's so special about those 3 random numbers? That's because credit scores are meaningless, unless you have Credit Karma to show you how to use them. We use those 3 random numbers, plus your financial profile, to help you find your next opportunity. Like a more rewarding credit card, a game plan that helps you pay down debt faster, or a personal loan to help you save more on interest payments each month. Cha-ching! Download Intuit Credit Karma today to get started.
Oh, it's such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Shop Blinds.com right now and get up to 40% off select styles. Rules and restrictions may apply.
And don't worry, I'm really excited to answer questions. So no question is, quote, don't be afraid, don't be intimidated. I was in your shoes as well. The other thing is, don't be afraid to ask questions. Really, when you have someone up there sharing their knowledge and experience with you, really just pick their brain. No question is every question is welcome.
For the non-traditional route, if you're just going straight into business, how can you use your GPA to make yourself a good candidate for a job? Because you were talking about GPA is very important, but in what ways is it important outside of those traditional pathways?
Oh, great question. One thing is, especially in the business world, your social skills and your soft skills are going to be equally as important as your GPA. So in the traditional method, you're going to have your GPA carries a lot of weight because it's like they want to make sure you can handle the academic rigor. But in the business world, in a sense, it's going to be really crucial to develop these skills that I was talking about, which is networking, marketing, social media, public speaking, communication, empathy, leadership, all of these. If you're going into business, it's really important to develop these skills. The area where your GPA is going to be really important for business sense is if you're interested in going to an MBA program, depending on what tier, but with the MBA programs and other graduate programs in business, they look at your GPA and also your standardized test scores.
I'm also in business. I'm graduating and I have my full-time lined up. But you mentioned that you strive to reach financial freedom before you took the risk and build your own business.
Yeah.
How important do you think it is to build your own financial freedom before you go out on a limb and try your own thing? And if you could go back in time, would you have started your business earlier or would you have waited the same amount of time?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. Definitely reaching financial independence and financial freedom gives you a little bit more leeway in terms of it gives you a little bit more cushion. So the more independent you are and you're not dependent on a job or a paycheck or an income, and you can focus on what you want to accomplish and your goals. So for example, building a business, that's going to really help a lot. So the question is, sounds like your question is, when do you decide to take the leap? Is it like, for the majority of people, the reason I took the more strategic route, because a lot of my colleagues, what they did was they leapt straight into entrepreneurship, which made them a little bit more hungrier, and it made them a little bit on edge because they had a lot to lose. So I took a little bit more strategic route. It was whereas I had enough finances and I had enough cushion so that I could, in startup world, it's called runway, where you have enough funds and to get to the next level. So for the majority of people, and it really depends on your risk tolerance, how good your idea is, what you want to accomplish. But for the majority of people, what I recommend is you have saved at least 6 months to a year of savings where if you had no income, you can work on your startup or whatever, go on to your next venture. So that's the way I recommend it. But looking back, for example, if I had just gone in cold, I've noticed that people that take the leap right away, they struggle a little bit because they don't, for example, they're limited by funds and by funding and income, but they have a lot of time. So whereas those that have, but they're a lot hungry and they have a lot more drive. But those that, do it more strategically, it's a little bit, transition is smoother. But like I've said, one of my friends, he just leapt straight in, and he's doing a multi-million-dollar company. So it really depends on a lot of luck, and it really depends on timing. It depends on drive. So with entrepreneurship, it is not I have to tell you, if you're interested in like becoming an entrepreneur and starting your company, you have to be ready for the ups and the downs, because one day you're up and then the next day you can be down, and you have to be really resilient emotionally and mentally. You have to stay focused on what you want to accomplish. So entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. That's why I strongly recommend for the majority of people to go the traditional route, but also think a little bit more entrepreneurial, develop some of these skills that I talked about earlier. Hi.
I'm also interested in kind of more the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But this question. You mentioned earlier that we're entering like a digital world with crypto, and I wanted to ask you, what are some opportunities that you see coming up in the next couple of years, like with the?
Yeah, it's great that you mentioned crypto, because I didn't want to mention it because it's I believe that's the future, and I'm heavily involved in it, but I hesitate to talk about it because it's fraught with fraudsters and scammers and really a lot of bad actors. And especially last year, we saw so many bad actors in the space. They destroyed a lot of people. That's why I'm hesitant. But if you talk about crypto, or what I want to really talk about is blockchain. So blockchain is really the underlying and all of the applications. So you have Bitcoin, you have crypto. There's so many opportunities right now, for example. And again, this is not investment advice. I don't want you to go out and buy Bitcoin or some coin or something and lose your money, but just understand that there's speculative part, but then there's also the underlying utility part, which is what I saw during the early days of the internet. So right now, all of the infrastructure is being built right now. So you can have projects fail, you can have projects succeed. Nobody knows, but I do think that Bitcoin is classified as a commodity right now. So I think that's fairly safe. Ethereum is also pretty good. But again, it's centralized, and it can't. And it's rumored that the SEC may consider it a security. That's fraught with its risks as well. But for example, the whole area of decentralized finance is a burgeoning area. So last 2020, I think it was summer of 2020 was the DeFi summer, and then last year we had a lot of DeFi blowups. But for example, BlackRock, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, all of these have started to experiment with DeFi applications on different blockchains. For example, Polygon is one of the big ones. So many different blockchains. So Polygon, there's Avalanche, there's Solana. Solana's undergoing some difficulties right now. But DeFi is also, non-fungible tokens is also going to be a huge application. Again, I want to emphasize the difference between speculating. For example, non-fungible tokens, they're associated with $1 million ape JPEGs, but that's the speculative part. That's YouTube when it was showing cat videos, or Snapchat or Instagram when it was showing like people eating cake and things like that. So that's the early days of non-fungible tokens. But now what non-fungible tokens are being used for is, for example, being used for ticketing. They're being used for rewards, loyalties. So Nike, Starbucks, a lot of these, Disney as well, They're experimenting with non-fungible tokens. Digital identity is a big one. How can you represent your identity on the blockchain using a QR code so that you don't have to wait 30 minutes in line at the securities, things like that. Contracts, for example, insurance contracts, real estate. If you look at, there was the first real estate transaction on the blockchain using a non-fungible token occurred last year or 2021 or so. So a lot of these different applications, and you're going to start to see different use cases. So for example, Web3 wallets, MetaMask, Coinbase, all these different wallets, who's going to develop that? Smartphones, a lot of decentralized. So you start to see a lot of applications come out of these new technologies, and it's very exciting. A lot of if you're not sure what you want to do and you're excited about creatives and entrepreneurship, look into like artificial intelligence, the metaverse as well, these virtual worlds. In the future, we may put on headsets and meet in Horizon Worlds, and I may be giving this talk and we may be in 3-dimensionals, and that's coming very soon as well. Autonomous vehicles, energy, robotics, it's incredible.
Thank you so much. We have one last question, and then I'll share your email, Dr. Liu, with everyone. So if you have more questions, you can send them to him directly. I just want to respect everyone's time. So here's the last question. Hello. Of course, you're very knowledgeable on like career and educational aspects of all this. Do you have any like lifestyle or societal advice for college students like this?
In what respect? Give me some examples so I can expound on your question.
Just things that are all educational, and just like putting that aside for a second, your life motto, and I don't know.
Oh, great question. Actually, I need to be working on this because my wife always says I work too hard. And so one thing is realize that life is so short. It's super short. It can be nobody and I hate to say this, but death is 100%, and it just depends on when and how. But really really value your time. Your time is the most important asset you have. Really be intentional with how you spend your time, who you spend your time with. If people are draining your energy or taking from you, you need to cut those people out politely, but value your time the most. Time is as I grow older, I'm more ruthless with how I spend my time, how I spend my attention, not holding on to these grudges and negative things, because you realize that time is all we have. It's not how much money you have, it's really about time and how much it impact. Really understand that of us, we're after quality of life. So we're after happiness, we're after freedom. So I break freedom down into different categories. So it's not just financial freedom where you have a good salary or a business or whatever, but it's also you can live, travel wherever you want. You can emotional freedom, you can work with whomever, and you have time freedom. So basically, if you have the ability to choose and you're not really bound by certain obligations, and you can basically enjoy life and realize it comes down to, it's not about status. It's not about how much you make. It's not about your net worth. All these are, the longer I live, the more I turn off the TV, because mainstream media is very biased and it's got a lot of influence, and realize that it's all about freedom, quality of life, and happiness. So, and then it's all about health as well. If your health is not, if you're feeling sick or low energy or bad mood, you're not sleeping enough, you're not eating correctly, you're not drinking enough water, these things really, as you age, will take a toll on you. So that's my life advice.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're clear. If you guys have any other questions for him, the email, I just put it up there again. It's on the slides. Thank you so much, Dr. Liu, for coming on here and talking to us. I think we all learned something. That was really great. Thank you so much.
Excellent. And thanks so much for tuning in. And I'll be in Austin in March or so for South by Southwest. Be sure to check out that festival. It's really awesome. Great. As students volunteer, check out that festival. It's got some of the cutting edge ideas, some of the stuff I was talking about, but really check that out. You guys are really blessed to live in Austin. Austin is one of the best cities, very progressive, tech savvy, very young, energetic. So take advantage of that.
Thank you. Dr. They're just heading out now, but thank you so much for, where's the camera? Thank you so much for coming out here. We really appreciate it. I think the Terrors really liked it. Yeah, I'm sure some of them will reach out to you.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks so much for putting this on, and thanks to Jillian. And if you ever need anybody to come and speak to you, or if you have questions, feel free to email me.
Of course. Thank you so much. You have a good night.